Hey guys, this is Sabri, and today I'm going to talk about how Unilever successfully dealt with the high demand for hand sanitizers during the COVID 19 pandemic. Now, there's a really small chance that some of us might not know Unilever, but I'm pretty sure all of us know Mike Tyson. So, the former boxing world champion Mike Tyson once famously said, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." COVID 19 was that punch in the mouth for today's supply chain. Now, before the pandemic, everybody was under the impression that supply chain was a smooth running business. Since the pandemic broke out in January 2020, more than 90% of organizations around the world have experienced supply chain disruptions. While most have struggled, some have dealt with it successfully. One such success story is Unilever. Regardless of where you are in the world in 2020, I'm pretty sure you'd have seen one of these. According to the Wall Street Journal, the sales of hand sanitizers in the US alone has increased by 5 times from January to June. Now imagine being a company which sells hand sanitizers. What I see is a big opportunity. Before we talk about how Unilever successfully met this demand, it is important to understand what Unilever is. Unilever is a company which sells fast moving consumer goods. It is the fourth largest seller of consumer goods in the whole world. Body wash, peanut butter, sunflower oil, you name it and they sell it. Almost anything you see at home can be a Unilever product. Under the Unilever brand, there are about 400 brands. These include some of the most famous brands in the world, such as Dove, Lipton, and so on. So now let's talk about Unilever's supply chain. Unilever sells its products in 190 countries in different parts of the world. Unilever also has 205 manufacturing sites. These are also located in different parts of the world. So how does Unilever manage such an extensive supply chain network? Let's look at it from three perspectives: the supply chain strategy, the logistics, and finally the supplier relationships. Just like in any other FMCG company, the flow of goods at Unilever is from B to C, which is from business to consumer. This means that once the finished products are made in the factory, they go straight to the hands of the customer. The supply chain strategy of Unilever is a hybrid strategy. It consists of both push and pull strategies. At the initial production stage, a push strategy is used. A forecast of customer demands is made, and keeping these demands as the baseline, the products are produced. At the final distribution stage, a pull strategy is used. This sort of hybrid strategy gives the company the fluidity to keep a steady flow of products while also creating a want or demand for their products from customers. For their logistics operations, the company uses third party logistics providers such as DHL. Unilever also has a policy of encouraging long term supplier relationships. It recently donated more than $1 million worth of hand sanitizers to its long term partner Food Bank. During the pandemic period from January to June, Unilever was one of the few companies which posted a net profit. The net profit of the company was about $3.45 billion. This was despite the fact that several of Unilever's key industries were hit hard by the pandemic. The only way in which they could tide through the pandemic with a net profit was because of the success of their hand sanitizer sales. And this success was down to two strategies: switching from global to regional supply chains and backing up the weak links in their supply chain network. Unilever manufactures hand sanitizers through its well known brand Lifebuoy. Before the pandemic, Lifebuoy only had two manufacturing sites for hand sanitizers all over the world. When the pandemic broke out and the demand for hand sanitizers grew enormously, the company knew that they couldn't satisfy this demand with their existing assets. So they decided to sign third party partnerships. With the help of these third party partners, the company could manufacture hand sanitizers locally and then quickly sell it off in nearby regions within the same country. The company's third party partnerships grew from 2 to 57 within just 6 months. In this way, the company was able to reduce their dependency on global supply chains and switch to regional supply chains. The next strategy used by the company was fixing the weak links in their supply chain network. Before the pandemic broke out, the cash flow of Unilever was pretty good. So when the pandemic broke out, they announced more than $500 million worth of relief to their small and medium scale suppliers who were affected by the pandemic. In this way, they could quickly fix the weak links in their supply chain and normal services could be resumed. The only reason why Unilever was able to successfully respond to the pandemic was because of the fact that they had a very clear picture of the entire length of their supply chain. This raises the case for the importance of transparency and visibility in the supply chain networks of the future. The easiest way to develop a transparent and visible supply chain is by digitalizing it. By bringing in suppliers at all stages of the supply chain network into the digital framework, companies can have a better picture of their supply chain and can respond better to uncertainties in the future. It won't be enough if only the large suppliers transform their supply chains digitally. It is important that companies ensure that even their smallest and most remote suppliers are part of this digital transformation.